Hey guys, I wanted to share a quote with you. This is from Viktor Frankl, and he says, "Man does not simply exist, but always decides what his existence will be, what he will become the next moment. By the same token, every human being has the freedom to change at any instance." And if you don't know anything about Viktor Frankl, he was one of these survivors of a concentration camp, of the Holocaust, of World War II, and went on to write a book called The Man's Search for Meaning. And in this book, he talks about and describes sort of coming from arguably some of the most horrific life experiences that anyone could have, but the one thing that he continued to have and continued to maintain was his freedom to not necessarily choose anything associated with his environment or his conditions, but to be able to choose his sort of reaction and how he perceived it, and anything that was associated with his experience within that sort of horrible conditions. But anyway, the reason that I wanted to say this and what this has to do with us is that none of us, for as much as we're defined in a lot of ways by our past experiences, none of us have to continue being prisoners to those past experiences. So whatever it has been that has been our experience and defined us and who we are or who we have been in the past, just like this quote from Viktor Frankl says, that we can choose in any moment, in any instance, what it is we want to be moving forward. And just like anything that is difficult, because it's one thing to say it, it's another thing to actually do it and to become a different version of yourself. So like anything else that is difficult to do, this type of thing also requires practice. So some of the ways that we can practice becoming a new version of ourselves starts with the words that we use to describe ourselves. And oftentimes this happens at a lower level, and it's habitual, and it's driven by emotion, and it's heavily influenced by those that are around us, and oftentimes even by the society itself and sort of the ideas that come from that society and defining who it is we are, who we think we are, and the marketing messages that come in that consistently try and tell us how unhappy we are without a specific product or without a specific behavior or anything along those lines. So becoming a new version of ourselves oftentimes starts with the words that we use. So we need to be able to add that level of awareness and be able to recognize those types of things that are influencing our thoughts, and what words are being used around us to describe us or to describe the opposite of us. And how can we leverage those words to help create new thoughts, which will drive new behaviors. New actions and behaviors will ultimately drive habits, and those habits will contribute to a new identity, a new version of ourselves. So the thing is, we're changing all the time no matter what. All of us are changing. It's just whether or not we want to strategically engineer that change, or we're just going to let change happen and try to react. It's one thing to make changes physically and even to some of the habits, but unless we actually fundamentally change who we are and the way that we see ourselves, we're going to end up in the same spot, because we can't always fight against that tendency to be consistent with how we see ourselves. Anyway, thanks for joining me on this video, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks.